I mean, here are some children, some of them probably are looking at architecture as a profession. So I know it's going back like so many years for you, but tips from a seasoned professional and also what you see in the younger architects. I mean, what you think students should have as skills. Can you throw some light on that?
Architects, this is about professionals in general, but architects in particular, I think an interest, I wouldn't even say aptitude, because I think aptitude develops, but an interest in looking at how materials come together, or how, between two solutions. If you notice, I'll give you an example. If you notice, we have a lot of flyovers in Delhi that have come up, or in whichever city you're from. Flyovers in the last 10 years have come up everywhere. And if you see, some flyovers are really bulky with big columns that come right in the middle of the road, not what I would say very nicely designed flyovers. Whereas there are others, same solution to the same problem. People have to cross the road and there should be no traffic. That's the problem, right? But the solution to it can be so elegant, thinly designed flyovers with little details. And if you were interested in making this place that we live in, the city that we live in, or even little buildings that we study and work in, if you're interested in making them ever so slightly better in design, then I think architecture is a good place to start for you. So I think the keen eye and interest when you're watching films, even just something as simple as, I'm not even talking about studies, but watching a film, when you notice that, oh, the lighting in this is better, or maybe, even the difference in the set that you see, this is a setting of a middle class person, and this is a setting of a whatever, an affluent family. When you start noticing these, that eye to notice these things is the first and the most important thing I think you should start with. Everything else, you can get training in, you can learn, it keeps changing, so you have to keep picking up in any case. But that, eyes and ears open towards the world around you, I would say that is the most important thing.
Yeah. So what I gather from that, Shruti, is that you have to be really observant and watch and have a very keen
Absolutely.
sense of aesthetics. So, if you can observe things around you and even look at it, how you can make it more beautiful or how you would like to make it more beautiful or more functional also, then probably you
Right.
are at heart, at least a part of you is an architect and the rest is training. So wonderful. That's nice to hear.
So when you listed that, making it more beautiful and functional, I would like to throw in a couple of elements in
Yes.
that. So when you do a good design, in architecture or any other design, you not only make it more beautiful and more efficient in function, you also sort of create a context around, like a historic context. If you imagine the way shopping, and I don't know if any of you, you were probably really young or not even born at that time, but shopping in our cities used to be these open shops, right? Where you used to cross streets and there'd be shops all around. And then someone here in India, abroad, wherever, thought that, okay, maybe if it's too hot, maybe I'll put a roof over this street, where there are shops on both sides, and maybe air condition the building, and it becomes a mall. And that just changes the way we shop, we live. You have malls everywhere in the city. So if you imagine, within a span of 20 years, one person thought that they wanted to join, shopping that's really, open to elements and uncomfortable, and you make it like that, you change the way a generation will think of, their experiences, their growing up, how they mingled, how they hung out, in public places. So that opportunity you get as an architect to influence the way, an entire generation will behave. And then it'll start uh, coming up in films, wherever. So as an architect, not only do you make something beautiful, it is a big part of what you make things around you beautiful, but you change the way people live, and their experiences of their life are, very greatly affected by how an architect works.
Actually got what you're saying, and it's probably what you do every day. And I guess what you're saying is that somebody might come to you with a problem and you try to solve it and you go beyond so that you understand the customer experience and enhance the customer experience aesthetically also.
But
So
are you also asking me if, when, like, how do you decide whether you want to be an architect or not? Is
yes,
that?
that would be a very critical question because you work fortunate enough to be surrounded by art, to be surrounded by people who are living and breathing design in various elements. And you also found your niche rather early. So a career counselor came, you heard it, it all clicked, and you knew in grade 9, you knew it was SPA, you had your mind made up. We are going to have listeners of this session later also.
Hmm.
Going to have this question of,
So
yeah,
I want to approach this backwards. I want to tell you what all you do not have, so that you know that it's not a hindrance, it's not a shortcoming.
all
If
right.
you feel that you don't draw very well, it doesn't mean that you won't be a good architect and you won't enjoy architecture. Not at all. So, I was telling Vidya yesterday that my husband is like the complete opposite of me in terms of the kind of skill sets we have. I have had training in drawing. I've watched someone, draw and sketch all the time. He cannot draw to save his life. In fact, some of his submissions in college I did because he couldn't sketch them. But that doesn't mean, so if you can't draw, it doesn't mean that you can't be an architect, or you won't be really good at it, because he's insanely good at what he does, but he just can't draw. Or you uh, if you feel, this is also for the men, people who feel that, I can't tell one blue from turquoise, it doesn't mean that I can't, it means that I can't be an architect, because oh, I'm so uh, you know what I'm saying, right? They
Yeah.
think that architecture and beautification and aesthetics is all about knowing if the pink isn't pink enough, or if whether it's a warm up. It's not that. It's not that. It's spatial design. It's 3D design. Somebody who is interested in theater will so greatly be beneficial, that quality will be beneficial to their being a good architect, because finally you're understanding space. When you stand in the center of a stage, you understand how far, up stages, down stages, where from the lights are coming, how sound is perceived. Sound is also such an intrinsic part of building design. So
Hmm.
don't let these conventional notions tell you that you can't be an architect. So many of, not so many, but a number of very famous practicing architects in India are not even trained architects, right? Have you heard of Satish Gujral, who was an artist? He also designed the Belgian embassy. He's an architect who's deaf and dumb. So how many senses is he perceiving from? He's So what is guiding him? How does a person who learned to speak and hear at the age of 60, he could, we had an interview with him, and he could speak, communicate, verbally communicate, but he was not born that way, and yet he has such a keen and nuanced understanding of space. Where does all that come from? So if you want to be an architect, I think you are generally okay if you, if, of course, you have to check those boxes. Architecture colleges have entrance exams, so you have to qualify for that to be a formally trained architect. And I say formally trained architect again and again because there is the architectural degree, which is what we're talking about today. But uh, you keep your interest. I keep coming back to the same idea again and again. I think you need to keep your eyes and ears open, start understanding space. You go to India Gate next time, and you go to Lal Killa next time, or any other monument, you see the monumentality of that space and what it was designed for. I think a keen interest in history. Architecture entrance exams ask for your PCM marks, and they make it sound so science heavy, but really an understanding of the history. Because what is history? If you study history, it's all about architecture, right? It's all about who built what, when, and how long it lasted, and how that shaped what new cities were made. So an interest in history, geography is very inherent to an understanding of architecture. So a sort of an overall understanding of your subjects is a good place to start.
All right. So I guess look around your spaces for each of the kids here.
Right.
See as to, how it's designed, how your room looks, how your house looks. See if you want to experiment and move around things, or what is it that you would do. Is that an inkling that you have? That's something that I take from it. And when you visit a building, or you see something new, or you visit a new place, do you go and see the heritage sites and marvel at the beauty of them, or how they were built? And what is the kind of material that was used that has withstood time? So those are
Absolutely.
the questions that come to your mind. Or if you think about when you go to, say, a shop like Lajpat Nagar Central Market, you have this totally different experience. And when you go to one of the malls, maybe the Saket Mall, or one of the better malls, it's not so much of mall culture these days, thanks to COVID, but you yourself feel different about the shopping experience. And we have preferences. I may still be a Lajpat Nagar junkie because I like that experience, but we realize that the space makes a difference to the way a person thinks. So if you have that nuanced understanding and that sensitivity, then maybe you have an interest in design and architecture.
Right.
So
And
of course,
there is a lot to learn. I think there is a lot to pick up. So I think interest is, is the key. It's once there is interest, you will pick on these things. Yeah, there are two people who start architecture education, and one person gets more than the other. Both are eligible. Both have got into architecture college, but that, one person just wants it more. They get more out of their education. Yeah. And also it is a lot of fun. It's insane amount of fun every day. I'm making it sound almost like if you have passion, it will guide you through, but if you don't have passion, then what will you do? It's the one thing is the passion develops as you have fun along with it. It keeps you glued in, and then you get more and more involved in it. It's really a lot of, it's very satisfying at the end of the day. You there was a housing we were doing for the Doon school, I remember, 2 years back, and it required me. So I'm in Delhi, the Doon school is in Dehradun, and every week I had to take a train from Delhi and go to Dehradun and come back. It was very strenuous. I have two kids at home to manage house, other things. There were other projects. This was not the only project I was working on. So for about 8 months, I did this. Every week I would go and come back. And architecture takes a little time to come up, right? Buildings don't get overnight.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But those 8 months were grueling. I could attend no parties. My friends would ask me, is it done? Is your project finished? When is it going to finish? I said, just leave me alone. I have to do this. But after those 8 months, when the building comes up, it is so satisfying, and it's something that you can show off forever, right? Because the building will last forever. Your ad that you worked on will probably not be there, but the building will be there. It'll get published. People will talk about it. Your kids will probably study in it. You will have friends who will come and say, you'll have people who went to that school earlier and they said, oh, we went and saw this house. Hamare time mein to nahi tha, and it's so much fun, now to have such a building. So it's very satisfying, but it takes time and patience.